There is a moment, quiet and uninvited, that visits every human soul, a moment when the clouds seem heavy, when the noise of the world feels louder than the whisper of your heart. In that moment, you are tempted to measure your life by its trials, to see your reflection only through the fractured mirror of circumstance. But I invite you now to pause and to look again. For life is not the sum of your burdens, it is the sacred dance of your becoming. And though the mind is conditioned to count what is lacking, to obsess over each unanswered question, the soul sings in a different rhythm. The soul knows that the true abundance of life is not found in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of gratitude. Count blessings, not problems. This is not a denial of pain. It is not an escape from the truth. It is the deepest possible embrace of truth, deeper than the ego can grasp. For problems are of the mind, but blessings are of the spirit. And when you align with your spirit, you begin to see not what is wrong with your life, but what is right, what is whole, what is still silently pulsing with beauty, despite it all. Imagine a tree in winter. It stands bare, branches brittle, sky gray. And the world might say, the tree is empty. But the tree knows better. Beneath the bark, life is moving. Roots are deepening. Silence is sacred. Spring is not gone, it is preparing. And so it is with you. You are not broken in your winter seasons. You are being readied. You are being shaped by the unseen. And even in your trials, there are blessings whispering, if only you choose to listen. The breath in your lungs is a blessing. The warmth of the sun, even when hidden, is a blessing. The ache in your heart that proves you still care, that too is a blessing. You were never meant to measure your life by its outer noise. You were meant to feel the inner symphony that plays beneath it all. The ego shouts, fix what's wrong, but the soul gently urges, honor what's right. And when you begin to honor what is right, when you shift your gaze from problems to presence, something miraculous occurs. Not outside you, but within. The anxiety begins to soften, the fear begins to dissolve. The storm outside may still rage, but you have found your center. This is not a shift of logic, it is a shift of being. A remembering of the ancient truth that what you focus on expands. When you obsess over problems, you multiply them in your mind. But when you count blessings, you awaken to the richness that was already there, waiting for your attention, like a seed waits for rain. And so I ask you, what are you counting? Are you counting rejections? Are you counting the resilience that brought you through them? Are you tallying failures? Or are you seeing the wisdom they've left like footprints on your path? Are you cataloging what was lost? Or are you cherishing the love that never truly left? Gratitude is not a feeling, it is a state of consciousness. It is the frequency of the awakened heart. It does not depend on conditions, it transcends them. It is not passive, it is transformational. When you live in gratitude, you do not ignore the pain, but you do refuse to let the pain define you. The Tao Te Ching teaches, be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. And in this ancient whisper, there is freedom. Because what you have, when seen through the lens of presence, is always enough. Even the emptiness can become sacred when met with reverence. Do not wait for all problems to vanish before you bless your life. That day may never come. Instead, let this day be enough. Let this breath be enough. Let this moment be a temple. The ego is always chasing tomorrow, more, different. But the soul bows in stillness and says, thank you. Thank you for this lesson. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this holy mess of a life that is teaching me how to return. And what are you returning to? You are returning to yourself, to the part of you that is not tangled in fear or drenched in complaint, the part that sees not with the eyes but with the heart, the part that knows even this is sacred, even this is grace in disguise. When you count your blessings, you do not deny the shadows, you illumine them. You bring light into the corners that have long been left alone. You begin to see that problems are not obstacles, they are openings. They are the places where love is trying to enter. They are not proof of what is wrong, they are invitations to remember what is right. Right now, in this very moment, something within you is rising. A gentle knowing, a soft returning. You can feel it, can't you? Like the first light of dawn breaking through a long night. That light is not coming from the sky, it is coming from you. You are the blessing. You are the miracle. You are the presence that transforms problems by the simple act of attention. So bless it all. Bless the mess. Bless the waiting. Bless the heartbreak. Bless the questions with no answers. Bless even your doubt, for it proves you are still searching. And to search is to care. To care is to feel, and to feel is to be alive. Your life is not a problem to be solved, it is a mystery to be lived. And each time you count a blessing, you unwrap that mystery a little more. Each time you give thanks, you align with the divine rhythm of the universe. The stars are not asking for your perfection. The trees are not demanding you be problem-free. The ocean does not wait for you to solve your life before it gives you its beauty. So why should you? Why should you withhold your own peace until all is fixed? Let the fixing go. Let the counting begin, not of burdens, but of blessings. Not of lacks, but of love. Not of what went wrong, but of what is still so beautifully right. And in that space, in that sacred, surrendered space, you will remember. You will remember that the most powerful shift is not in the world, but in your perception of it. And perception, my friend, is a choice. Choose to count your blessings, and you will find there are more than you ever knew. And so as you begin to shift the eyes of your spirit from the outer turbulence to the inner stillness, you begin to realize that you were never meant to navigate life by solving every wave that rises. You are meant to remember that you are the ocean itself, vast and unmoved by the winds above. It is not the absence of waves that brings you peace. It is the remembrance of your depth. Do not let the mind deceive you into believing that serenity is earned through struggle. Serenity is not a reward. It is your birthright. It arrives not when you fix your circumstances, but when you meet them with presence. The problem is not the storm, but the story you've told yourself about it. The drama lives in the mind, but the peace lives in your being. In this stillness, you begin to see that everything you once resisted was not a punishment, but a teacher. The pain that bent your back was a bow to humility. The confusion that haunted your nights was a call to surrender. The loss that hollowed your heart was not a thief, it was a sculptor, carving space for something greater to arrive. And that something greater is not outside you. It is not a new possession, not a new identity, not a solution dressed in gold. It is your own soul, stepping forth from the shadows of neglect. It is the luminous being you forgot when you began to believe in problems more than in miracles. But miracles are always present. They do not need to be created. They only need to be seen. The truth is, life has never stopped blessing you. It's just that you stopped noticing. Every breath is a gift signed by the infinite. Every beat of your heart is a rhythm composed by divine intelligence. And every morning the sun rises without needing your permission, reminding you that light will always find a way back in, even through the smallest cracks. But to feel this, to truly receive it, you must slow down. Not in body, but in being. You must become soft enough to listen again to the breeze, to the silence, to the unspoken knowing that stirs when all distractions fall away. And in that listening, something awakens. A deep remembrance that you were never the role you played, never the mask you wore, never the name they called you, nor the wounds you endured. You are the witness behind it all, the silent seer, the sacred space, the eternal presence. This is not some lofty ideal. This is the ground beneath your feet, the breath within your chest, the voice of the eternal speaking without sound. And it speaks to you now, not in thunder, but in the hush between your thoughts. Be still, it says, and know. Know that the life you've been given is not random. It is not flawed. It is not lacking. It is alive with divine orchestration. And every note of your journey, every tear, every triumph, every turning point has been perfectly placed for your soul's unfolding. So stop measuring your life by the thorns. Look instead at the way the rose still blooms. Do not define yourself by the nights that broke you. Notice the fact that you are still here, that something unnameable within you refused to give up. That unnameable something is sacred, and it cannot be destroyed. It can be buried beneath stories, it can be silenced by fear, it can be forgotten amidst the noise of survival. But it cannot be extinguished, for it is not of this world. It is of spirit, of source, of the same eternal current that breathes stars into being and calls oceans into rhythm. And you, beloved soul, are not separate from that current. You are it, localized for a time in human form. A wave momentarily shaped by form, but never severed from the sea. When you begin to live from this knowing, life stops being a burden and becomes a blessing again. Not because the pain is gone, but because the presence has returned, the presence of awareness, of reverence, of sacred clarity. And from that clarity, problems lose their sharpness. They become invitations. Teachers, signposts. They point not to what's missing, but to what is ready to be remembered. You do not need to push so hard. You do not need to strive so endlessly. You are not here to perfect your life. You are here to be perfected by it. And perfection in the eyes of the soul does not mean flawlessness. It means fullness, wholeness, the embrace of all that is. Can you allow yourself to feel whole, even with unanswered questions? Can you honor the path you're on, even when you cannot see the next turn? Can you trust that every blessing you acknowledge multiplies not in form, but in depth? This is not wishful thinking. This is soul vision. This is the realignment of perception with truth. And truth has never needed embellishment. It only needs to be remembered. And now you are remembering. As this remembering rises within you, gently and steadily like the tide beneath a moonlit sky, something ancient within begins to exhale. The part of you that has held its breath for so long for approval, for certainty, for the next moment to rescue you, finally begins to release its grip. You are not waiting to be saved anymore. You are awakening to the truth that you were never lost. There is a sanctity in that release, a sanctity in the slow return to what is simple, to what is already here. And when you stop grasping for what might come, you begin to receive what has always been. You start to see that the most extraordinary truths are the quietest. They do not knock, they wait. They do not demand, they dwell. And one of those truths is this: gratitude is not a reaction to joy. It is the cause of it. So many wander through life thinking, when I have peace, I will be grateful. But life does not work in reverse. It is gratitude that creates peace. It is gratitude that clears the fog and lets you see the hidden wholeness beneath the mess. You see, even your most ordinary moments are embroidered with grace. The laughter of a child echoing down the street, the feel of warm water over tired hands, the way your breath moves through your body like wind through a field of golden grass. These are not accidents. They are sacred reminders, sacred threads in the tapestry of your life, woven by hands you cannot see, but can always feel when you slow down long enough to notice. And when you do notice, something shifts. Life stops being something you manage and starts becoming something you marvel at. You begin to see that your blessings were never missing. They were merely hidden behind your hurry. You were sprinting past them, eyes fixed on the next problem, the next fix, the next validation. But all the while, the blessings sat silently beside you, waiting to be seen. And they are still there, not because you deserve them, but because you exist. Life is not rewarding you, it is loving you. Not conditionally, not transactionally, but unceasingly. And when you count your blessings, you are not earning more, you are aligning with the flow of that love. This alignment is not a concept. It is not an affirmation you tape to your mirror. It is a vibration, a way of walking through the world, a silent agreement with life that says, I trust you, even when I don't understand, even when the surface looks chaotic. I trust that something deeper is always at work. This is not blind faith, it is awakened perception. It is seeing with the eyes of the soul, not the eyes of fear. It is trusting that your life is not a random series of moments, but a sacred unfolding, a divine remembering, a masterpiece still being painted by invisible hands. Even the darkness has its place in that masterpiece. Even the shadows have a sacred role. They teach you contrast. They teach you longing. They teach you how to recognize the light, not by its absence, but by the way it dances in the smallest places. You begin to bless the very things you once tried to escape. The tears that softened you, the failures that stripped away the false, the rejections that guided you to your path, the endings that ushered in your becoming. This is the alchemy of the awakened heart. It turns pain into presence, scarcity into sufficiency, and problems into portals. And the most miraculous part, you didn't have to change the world to feel this. You only had to change how you see. You only had to choose in this moment to count the sacred instead of the scarce, to see not what's missing, but what's quietly miraculous in its presence. This kind of seeing becomes a way of living. It slows your breath, it softens your tone, it turns your gaze inward not to judge, but to listen. You stop needing to be right. You stop trying to be more. You stop rushing to fix what was never broken. And as you settle into this deeper rhythm, life meets you there, not with fireworks, but with the warmth of alignment. not with dramatic change, but with subtle grace. The kind that makes ordinary moments feel like prayers, the kind that makes silence feel like song. There is no need to ask for more. There is only the call to notice more, to notice that you are already standing on holy ground, because every moment is a temple when entered with awareness. You are not on a journey to gather more blessing. You are on a journey to become aware of the infinite blessings that already surround you. And in that awareness, you become a blessing yourself. And so we continue deeper still into the quiet sanctuary of your being, where all of life breathes in unison with you, not against you. When you begin to live as one who counts blessings rather than problems, you stop living as a victim of life and begin living as a vessel for it. You no longer see yourself as being thrown into a storm. You remember that you are the calm from which the storm arises. You are not here to be battered by the wind. You are here to remember that even the winds obey something sacred, something unseen, something within you. This shift does not happen in one glorious leap. It happens slowly, subtly, like dawn unfolding across a sleeping landscape. It happens each time you choose to notice what's here, each time you bless the breath you're taking, each time you speak not from reaction, but from reverence. And over time, your entire experience of reality begins to tilt toward grace. Not because grace arrived, but because you finally stopped resisting it. Resistance is what creates the illusion of separation. It tells you that life is a battle, that every day is a test, that you must prove your worth or protect your soul from harm. But the soul cannot be harmed. It cannot be lost. It cannot be diminished by what happens on the surface. The soul is like a flame that does not burn, it only illuminates. When you live from the soul, you begin to bless not just what is beautiful, but what is broken. You start to recognize that the cracks in your life are not flaws. They are the sacred entry points for light. It is easy to bless the gain, but can you bless the loss that opened your heart? It is simple to bless the joy, but can you bless the sorrow that deepened your compassion? Gratitude, when fully awakened, does not discriminate. It blesses it all. It sees that life is not either divided by, or it is both divided by and. It is both light and shadow, gain and loss, becoming and returning. And the soul, in its infinite wisdom, makes no enemy of any of it. So now the invitation is clear. It is not to run from your pain or to rearrange your conditions. It is to bring presence to every part of you, the triumphant and the tender, the confident and the confused. It is to offer your whole life back to the sacredness from which it came and say, even this, even now, even here, thank you. When you live like this, you begin to embody the very thing you've been searching for. You stop looking for peace and start radiating it. You stop craving love and start being it. You stop fearing problems and start transmuting them through your awareness. Your presence itself becomes medicine. Others may not understand this at first. They may still live caught in the trance of lack, of judgment, of fear. But your presence will speak louder than your words. Your calm will ripple out. Your stillness will soften them. And maybe, just maybe, they will remember their own blessings too. This is how we heal the world, not by shouting louder, not by demanding more, but by returning to the quiet within us that knows the way, that has always known the way. Do you feel it now? That pull inward, that soft hum of truth resonating through your bones, that is not imagination, that is remembrance. That is your soul nodding in agreement, saying, yes, this is who I am beneath it all. And who you are is whole. Not in the way the world defines wholeness, not perfect, not polished, not without scar or shadow, but whole in your essence, whole in your light, whole in your sacred, untouchable center. You do not need to add anything to yourself to be worthy of this moment. You only need to release the belief that something is missing. Nothing is missing. The blessings have been here all along. They are woven into the silence, into the space between your thoughts, into the rhythm of your breath. They are not loud. They are not flashy, but they are real, and they are yours. So lie from them, speak from them, choose from them, and let every choice be a thank you. Even the ones that hurt, even the ones that confused you, because each one has brought you here to this breath, to this remembrance, to this sacred pause where life no longer needs to prove itself. It only needs to be seen. As you rest in this space of awareness, where you are no longer at war with life, but in quiet union with it, you begin to sense a new rhythm emerging. It does not beat with urgency, nor does it demand performance. It is slow, sacred, like the hush before a prayer, like the way stars appear one by one in the dusk. This rhythm is not outside of you. It is your truest self, finally heard beneath the static of striving. And in this rhythm, problems begin to dissolve, not because they are solved, but because they are no longer central. They lose their grip when you stop feeding them with fear. They lose their teeth when you stop naming them as enemies. You realize that the real issue was never the problem itself, but the way your attention danced around it like flame to fuel. So you stop dancing for it. You stop bowing before the altar of what is missing. And you begin instead to turn inward and bow to what is already here. Gratitude is the practice of turning your gaze from the illusion of lack to the truth of presence. And presence is where the miracle always lives. Presence does not ask you to be different. It does not ask you to hurry, to strive, to attain some imagined perfection. Presence is content with you exactly as you are, because it sees not your flaws, but your essence, and your essence has always been more than enough. Can you feel the peace that arrives when you no longer need to fix yourself? When you stop measuring your worth by the size of your bank account or the smoothness of your path? When you no longer seek validation from voices that never knew the real you? That peace is the peace of returning to the part of you that never left the garden, that never bought into the myth of not enough, that always knew you were part of the divine, woven from the same silence that shaped the mountains and the same breath that moves the seas. This is not a metaphor. This is metaphysical truth. You are not separate from the source. You are an extension of it, a unique note in the eternal song of being. And when you live from that awareness, your life becomes an instrument through which divine music flows quiet, healing, unforced. That is the blessing you carry. That is the treasure hidden in plain sight. You do not need to go anywhere to find it. You only need to remove the veil of distraction and remember. Remember that you are not what you fear. You are not your regrets. You are not the sum total of your past. You are the awareness that survived it all, that grew through it all, that still stands here, breathing despite it all. And that breath, oh, what a miracle it is. Let it remind you. Let it anchor you. Let it guide you back to the moment where life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a presence to be lived. From here, you begin to move differently. You begin to walk as one who is rich, not in possessions, but in perspective. You begin to speak as one who sees beyond appearances, who feels the sacredness in a stranger's glance, who knows that every soul is fighting invisible battles and yet still shining. And as you count your blessings, you become one. You become the blessing that someone else didn't know they needed. Your calm becomes a sanctuary. Your listening becomes a balm. Your laughter becomes a lighthouse. This is how the world changes, not with force, not with fear, but with a quiet revolution of awakened hearts who choose moment by moment to live in gratitude. Not performative gratitude, not conditional gratitude, but real, rooted, raw gratitude, the kind that thanks the sky for being blue and the sorrow for being honest. You begin to bless what others curse. You begin to give thanks for the things that once made you weep, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you see what it gave you, because you feel how it deepened you, because you know it stripped you of illusion and returned you to essence. And essence is everything. It is the part of you that doesn't flinch when things fall apart, the part that trusts even when it trembles, the part that knows it is not alone, not ever, not truly, because it is held in a current of grace that cannot be broken. So let yourself be held. You have carried enough. You have searched enough. You have tried endlessly to earn what was never meant to be earned. Now, just receive. Receive the miracle of your own breath. Receive the beauty of simply being. Receive the still, unwavering truth that you are already whole, already loved, already home. As the arc of this inner journey curves toward its still and luminous end, you begin to realize that it was never about fixing the path. It was always about remembering how to walk it with grace, with awareness, with eyes open wide to the hidden holiness in everything. You now see what was always there. Life is not a problem to be solved. It is a blessing to be received again and again, like the sunrise that never fails to rise even on the coldest days. And so now you stand perhaps not taller, but deeper, not louder, but clearer. You do not need to declare your strength. You embody it. You do not need to chase light. You have become it. And in your quiet radiance, you begin to understand that the ultimate gift of gratitude is not what it gives you, it is what it makes of you. It makes of you a vessel, a channel, a bearer of presence. You begin to walk into rooms and shift their temperature, not with force, but with the invisible warmth of someone who lives from within, who sees beyond form, who hears the soul even when the words are stumbling. Your presence becomes prayer. Your stillness becomes invitation. Your life becomes offering. Because when you count blessings, you become aware of the miracle of being alive. And when you live from that awareness, everything becomes sacred. The pain, the praise, the falling apart, and the putting back together. You begin to trust that everything belongs. Even what you wish had never happened. Even what you still don't understand. Because your trust is no longer intellectual, it is cellular. It is woven into your breath, folded into your gaze, anchored into your bones. And with this trust, there is no need to strive, no need to prove, no need to edit your truth so that others feel more comfortable. You are no longer a beggar for peace. You are its embodiment. You are no longer seeking safety. You are the sanctuary. You are no longer hoping for miracles. You are awake to the fact that every breath, every sunrise, every human heart that dares to keep beating in a fractured world, each of these is a miracle beyond comprehension. This is the truth you return to now. That life, in all its chaos and contrast, is still for you. That the path, though winding and unclear, has always been sacred. That every blessing you count opens another doorway and another until you are no longer standing outside the temple, until you realize you are the temple. You are the space where grace lives. You are the altar upon which the present moment lays its offering. You are not what has happened to you. You are what you have chosen to see in what happened. And in that seeing, you have transformed it, transmuted it, redeemed it. The blessing is not in the event, it is in your awareness of it. And now, you carry that awareness like a lamp through the darkness, not to banish the shadows, but to walk with them until they no longer frighten you. Because you are no longer afraid of the night. You have become the light. So go now not back into the noise, but forward in stillness. Let your steps be slow and sacred. Let your words be few but full. Let your life become less about acquiring and more about allowing. Allow love in. Allow silence to speak. Allow others to be exactly where they are without needing to fix them. And allow yourself, above all, to live as though everything were a gift. Because it is, and you are. You are not your wounds. You are not your worries. You are not your roles or your regrets. You are the awareness that chose to wake up today, to breathe this breath, to feel this moment in all its ache and all its awe. And that awareness is holy. So count your blessings, not once, not twice, but endlessly, until it becomes your way of seeing, your way of speaking, your way of being. Until the line between giving thanks and simply being alive disappears, until all of life becomes a prayer of gratitude. And you, just as you are, become the Amen. Let it be so. There is a quiet truth that has always been whispered to you, though perhaps you've not yet paused long enough to hear it. It does not come wrapped in gold or shouted from the rooftops of the world. It comes in stillness. It arrives in silence. It echoes gently in the space between your thoughts, asking not for your belief, only your remembrance. And that truth is this: you are already wealthy. Not because of what you own, not because of how others see you, not because the digits in your account rise and fall with the tides of the world, but because you were born into a universe that lacks for nothing, and the same abundance that stretches stars across the sky breathes within your very being. You see, wealth is not something you chase, it is something you awaken to. It is not a number, it is not a title, it is not a mansion perched upon a hill. Wealth is a state of mind, and more than that, it is a state of soul. It is the deep and unwavering knowing that what you are is already enough, already complete, already full. But the world will try to convince you otherwise. It will whisper that you must strive harder, reach farther, gather more. It will dangle illusions before your weary eyes, saying, when you have this, then you will feel secure. When you own that, then you will be happy. And so you run, you toil. You exhaust yourself chasing shadows, only to find that no external thing can ever fill an inner void. What you are looking for is not out there. The treasure you seek does not reside in someone else's hands. It does not live on a pedestal you must climb. It was planted in the soil of your soul long before you took your first breath. And when you return to that inner soil, when you till it with presence, with gratitude, with truth, you will discover that you were never poor. You were only distracted by the noise of the ego, distracted by the game of comparison, distracted by a culture that worships quantity while starving for quality. But the soul does not care how shiny the world looks on the outside. It yearns for how still the truth feels on the inside. You are not your possessions. You are not the opinions of others. You are not the size of your following or the weight of your resume. You are the awareness beneath it all. You are the infinite essence wrapped in human skin for a little while, learning not how to become more, but how to remember what has always been yours. Let me tell you something that may feel like a paradox. The moment you stop needing wealth to feel whole is the moment you become truly wealthy. Because in that moment, you stop leaking your energy outward, trying to prove something, and begin to gather it inward, anchoring into your divine identity. There are people who walk this earth with empty pockets but overflowing hearts. And there are those with full accounts but starving souls. Which is richer? The Tao teaches that he who knows he has enough is rich. Not he who owns the most, but he who knows he lacks nothing. This knowing is not taught, it is remembered, and it is remembered in stillness. When you quiet the chaos of want, when you stop bowing before the altar of more, you will notice something sacred beneath the noise, a wellspring, a reservoir of peace, joy, and sufficiency that asks nothing of you but presence. And oh, how the ego hates presence. The ego thrives in the future, in the hunger, in the proving, in the promise that someday when all the stars align, then I will be free. But the soul speaks only of now. The soul does not barter in timelines. It does not wait for conditions. It simply radiates the truth of what is. And what is this? You are wealthy beyond measure, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. You are the consciousness that breathes worlds into being. You are the silence that births all sound. You are the abundance that others seek, disguised in a body that forgets. But the forgetting was part of the journey, because there is something profoundly sacred in remembering what you once knew, but chose to forget in peeling back the layers of false identity to find the shimmering truth that never left you. That truth is not earned. It is not achieved. It is inherent. And once you see it, once you truly feel it, everything begins to change. There is a wealth so vast it cannot be counted, yet it resides within a single conscious breath. It is the kind of wealth that does not rust, cannot be taxed, and is never at the mercy of external tides. This wealth is not a possession, but a presence, a quiet radiance that lives beneath your skin, behind your eyes, and within the still chambers of your heart. It is not bound by market trends or fleeting applause. It is eternal, because it is you. You are the treasure you've been trained to search for outside yourself. The mind will argue, of course. It will say, but I must plan, I must hustle, I must compete. The mind has been taught to survive, but the soul does not survive, it expands. And when you shift from survival to expansion, from striving to surrender, you begin to experience life not as a battleground, but as a blessing. You begin to see that your true riches are measured not in things, but in the depth of your awareness, the generosity of your love, the clarity of your presence. How many lives have been spent accumulating only to die empty? How many hearts have been silenced in the chase for approval? There is a sacred courage in stepping off that treadmill, not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up. You're remembering that your value was never conditional, never negotiable, never dependent on the world's ever-changing scale. It was set by the divine itself the moment you were breathed into existence. There is an ancient power in enoughness, not the resignation of scarcity, but the reverent recognition of sufficiency. Enoughness is the soil where miracles grow. When you feel full from within, your outer world begins to echo that wholeness. Not because you've manipulated circumstances, but because you've realigned your frequency. You've tuned yourself to truth. Think of the sun. It does not strive to shine. It simply is. It does not withhold its light until it's validated or celebrated. It radiates because that is its nature. And so it is with your soul. When you live from your essence, you stop dimming your light to fit into smaller molds. You stop contorting yourself to match someone else's idea of success. You begin to glow not with arrogance, but with authenticity. This is the currency of the awakened life, peace that does not depend on perfection, joy that blooms in the now, not someday, gratitude that flows without a ledger, love that expands without condition. And still, the world may not understand. It may call you foolish for choosing simplicity. It may accuse you of naivety for trusting in what cannot be seen. But the soul knows what the intellect cannot grasp. It knows that the unseen is often more real than what we touch, that silence can teach more than sermons, that being is greater than doing. You do not have to convince the world of your worth. You only have to embody it. Your presence, rooted in truth, is more valuable than any resume of achievements, because it carries the weight of eternity. And eternity does not fluctuate. You are here to remember the wealth of your breath, the treasure of your intuition, the gold that is your awareness. These riches cannot be taken. They are not on loan. They are your birthright. Do not measure your life by accumulation. Measure it by alignment. Ask not what you have, but how deeply you dwell in what you are. For the one who is deeply aligned with their essence needs very little. Their joy is not brittle. Their peace is not dependent. Their wealth is woven into their being. And if you've forgotten, that's all right. Even the moon disappears for a time, but it does not cease to be whole. Your wholeness, too, remains untouched beneath the cycles of doubt and desire. You are still the ocean, even when you forget how to swim. So come back. Return not with haste, but with reverence. Return to the sanctuary of your soul, where abundance is not an outcome, but a state. Where love is not earned, but revealed. Where you are no longer a beggar at the door of life, but the very life that gives. And in that space, watch how the world responds, not because you forced it, but because you became a living invitation. An invitation for others to stop chasing and start remembering, to stop proving and start being, to stop reaching and finally arrive. You are not here to accumulate your worth, you are here to express it. And expression is the true wealth. Not the kind that gathers dust, but the kind that transforms rooms, heals hearts, and touches eternity without even trying. This is wealth, the wealth of presence, the wealth of being, the wealth of remembering that what you are is already more than enough. And so we deepen, not into noise, but into silence, into that sacred hush beneath all doing, where the illusions we've worn begin to loosen and fall away, not with struggle, but with surrender. The more you let go of who you thought you had to be, the more the truth of who you are begins to shine through, quietly, luminously, without apology. There is a kind of wealth in this shedding, in the peeling away of roles, masks, and identities built for survival but never meant for peace. It is the wealth of lightness, of not having to prove, perform, or persuade, of simply standing in the unshakable truth of your being and saying, this is enough, I am enough. That moment, that breath, is more valuable than all the gold in the world. But to arrive at such a moment, you must be willing to walk through the fire of illusion, the fire that burns away the belief that your value comes from outside you, the fire that melts the old stories, the ones that whispered, you must earn your place, or you must be more to be loved. No, you must only be real. And in that realness, the soul rejoices, for it recognizes itself. Do not fear the emptiness that comes when the illusions fade. That emptiness is not a void, it is a clearing, a holy space made ready for truth to enter. And when truth enters, it does not shout, it does not demand. It sits quietly like a wise elder waiting for you to remember that it was always there. You see, the great lie of the ego is separation, that you are apart from life, that you must claw your way to some imagined summit to be worthy of rest, of joy, of love. But the soul knows no such story. The soul speaks in the language of wholeness. It does not see you as lacking, it sees you as luminous. It does not ask you to earn it, ask you to receive. There's more wealth in one moment of stillness than in a lifetime of accumulation without awareness. One breath, fully felt, is worth more than all the accolades the world can offer. Because in that breath, you touch eternity. You step out of time, out of mind, out of all concepts, and into presence. Presence is the true opulence. It is the scent of the divine moving through your awareness. It is the gold dust on the floor of your being, waiting to be noticed. And when you notice it, when you begin to truly live from it, then you are no longer ruled by outcomes. You are no longer bound by the dance of gain and loss. You are free. And freedom, my friend, is the most exquisite form of wealth. To wake up and not be tethered to what others think of you. To walk through the world without the ache of comparison, without the burden of pretending, without the fear of being too much or not enough. This is true liberation. And from this liberated place, everything begins to flow, not because you force it, but because you become a clear channel. Life flows through you, not around you. Opportunities find you not because you chase them, but because your energy became magnetic. This is the paradox of true wealth. When you no longer need it to define you, it begins to show up effortlessly. Not always in the form you expected, but always in the form your soul requires. The right connection, the right moment, the right unfolding. All of it arrives when you are aligned with the knowing that you already lack nothing. You have been told to hustle, to grind, to chase. But I tell you, align with truth, align with presence, align with the stillness that is your nature. And from there, let life rise. Let it move not from desperation, but from devotion, not from fear, but from faith, not from striving, but from sacred surrender. There is a kind of music that only silence can hear. There is a kind of wealth that only stillness can spend. And there is a kind of power that only emerges when you stop trying to control the river and instead become the river. Do you feel it now? That current beneath your skin, beneath your thoughts, that silent flow that asks for nothing but your awareness. That is your source. That is your abundance. That is your infinite, eternal, inexhaustible supply. It cannot be measured, but it can be lived. And once you live from it, you will never again believe the lie that you are lacking. Let the world call it strange. Let the mind call it foolish. Let the ego scream for more. And then simply breathe. Simply be. Simply return to the quiet knowing that has never left you. You are not here to collect things. You are here to remember who you are beneath all things. And who you are is wealth itself. Imagine now that everything you have ever sought, every desire, every ambition, every yearning, was never about the thing itself, but about a feeling, a sensation of wholeness, a return to the sacred warmth of being home within yourself. Every goal you chased, every possession you craved, every praise you longed for was your spirit, disguised in pursuit, whispering, "Bring me back to the place where I no longer need." And now you stand at the edge of that place, no longer compelled by the desperate hunger of the ego, but drawn by the gentle gravity of grace. And grace says you don't need to go anywhere. You only need to stop running. The wealth of the awakened is not visible to the eyes of the world. It cannot be appraised, counted, or auctioned. It is the wealth of walking into a room and needing nothing from it. It is the light in your eyes that no achievement can purchase. It is the peace in your breath that no storm can shake. It is the unwavering presence of a soul that remembers. It is not separate from the divine. It is the divine. To live from this remembrance is not arrogance. It is humility. The deep humility of knowing you are not the source of life, but its expression. You do not make the sun rise. You do not beat your own heart. You do not script the stars or summon the tides. And yet all these things move through you without your effort. What greater wealth is there than to be so intimately woven into the fabric of creation? You are not alone. You are not abandoned. You are not unsupported. Every leaf that falls, every breeze that moves across your skin, every synchronicity that graces your path, these are the universe's way of saying, I am here. I am with you. I am in you. And to feel this not as a belief, but as a lived experience, is to become truly rich. Let us go further. True wealth is generosity, not the kind that seeks to be noticed, but the kind that pours from fullness. When you live as if you are enough, you give without keeping score. You love without withholding. You serve without resentment. And in doing so, you become a wellspring, a source of nourishment in a world parched by striving. But generosity is not only outward. You must first be generous inward, with your time, with your forgiveness, with your compassion. Can you give yourself the presence you offer to others? Can you look in the mirror and see not a project to be fixed, but a being to be honored? Can you bow not to the reflection, but to the awareness that sees it? That awareness, that still, infinite field behind the form, is your true self. And it has never been poor. It has never been broken. It has never been in need. It has only been waiting. waiting for you to remember that the kingdom of heaven is not found in some distant realm. It is found in your own conscious presence, in the way you breathe, in the way you listen, in the way you stop clinging and start allowing. Abundance is not the result of action, it is the natural expression of alignment. When you align with your essence, life begins to bloom around you. Not because you demanded it, but because you became a fertile space for miracles to take root. And yes, this is a miracle, the act of remembering, the act of living from being, not from becoming, the act of dropping the false coin of more and picking up the sacred gold of now. You are not a beggar at the gates of life. You are not a servant in search of approval. You are the beloved, already welcome in the house of the infinite. And every time you return to that knowing, even for a moment, you step back into your inheritance. This is what it means to be wealthy, to walk through the world with a quiet knowing, to look into the eyes of a stranger and see yourself, to sit in the presence of pain and know it does not define you, to rise in the morning not with fear, but with gratitude for the breath that speaks of life, still unfolding. You are already rich in ways the world has no language for. You are already free in ways the ego cannot comprehend. And as you continue walking this path, not towards something, but into something, may you feel the gentle shedding of all that was never you. The names, the fears, the masks, let them fall. Let them return to the dust. For beneath them, something radiant stirs, something ancient, something holy, the essence that was never poor, never lost, never separate. The essence that is you. Then let us go deeper still, as one submerges not into darkness, but into a vast and silent light, the kind that does not dazzle, but dissolves all illusion. You have not come into this life to collect trophies. You have not come to be measured or ranked. You have come to remember, to awaken to the essence within you that has never changed, that was never born and will never die. And in that remembrance, to walk the earth with open hands and an unguarded heart, radiating the wealth of your being like sunlight through an open window. There is a sacred kind of affluence that flows only from presence, not from control, not from conquest, but from the holy act of allowing life to pass through you, unresisted and unfiltered. That kind of wealth cannot be taken from you because it does not reside in things. It resides in your being, in your willingness to let go of needing to be someone and instead allowing yourself to be a vessel of something much greater. The oak tree does not compare itself to the willow. The mountain does not wish to become the sea. They do not measure themselves by output. They simply are. And in that being, they serve their purpose without anxiety. You too are meant to be a unique and unrepeatable expression of the infinite, not a copy of what the world applauds. But you have been taught to doubt your worth, to believe that success is earned through sacrifice of self, that love must be deserved, that freedom comes after striving. You were taught to chase images, to decorate your identity with accolades, to confuse security with the accumulation of possessions. But security born from fear is not security, it is imprisonment. The soul was never meant to be caged. And so if you feel restless, if you feel weary, it is not because you are failing. It is because your spirit is longing to return to truth. It is not that you want too much, it is that you've been asking for too little, not in size, but in substance. You've been asking for crumbs of approval when your soul is calling for the feast of liberation. This is the banquet. This is the sacred table set not with gold, but with grace, where nothing is required and everything is given, where you come not to perform, but to remember, to eat of the bread of presence, to drink from the well of inner stillness, and in doing so, to become full, not with pride, but with peace. The truly wealthy are not those with the most, but those who need the least, because they have learned to draw from within. Their joy is not conditional. Their giving is not transactional. Their love is not withheld until circumstances comply. They have touched the eternal and brought it with them into each moment. Can you feel what that would be like? To wake each day and not brace against life, but open to it. To trust the unfolding even when the map is unclear. To walk not with answers, but with presence. This is not a fantasy. It is your nature. It is the blueprint encoded into your being, long before fear took root. And now you are being asked to return. not to abandon the world, but to live in it from a place of remembrance, to handle money without letting it define you, to welcome success without letting it possess you, to hold relationships without needing them to complete you. You complete you. The divine within you completes you. And when you know this, truly know it, then your life ceases to be a negotiation and becomes an offering. You stop trying to be enough and start living from the overflow. You begin to walk through this world like a river, nourishing, flowing, and never doubting your source. This is abundance. It is not flashy. It is not boastful. It is not brittle. It is soft. It is spacious. It is still. It is the unshakable center that watches empires rise and fall without losing itself. It is the eternal whisper that says, I am not defined by gain or loss, by praise or blame, by what is given or taken. I am. That is enough. And when you anchor into that truth, life begins to reorganize around your vibration. Not because you demanded it, but because you became a clear vessel, a tuning fork for truth. And all that is false begins to fall away, not with effort, but with grace. Let the world misunderstand you. Let the numbers not make sense. Let the opinions swirl. And still you be still. Stillness is the soil of miracles. And in stillness, wealth emerges not as a possession, but as a presence. Not as something you hold, but something you are. Then let us come to the sacred close. Not as an end, but as a return. A homecoming, long awaited, yet always one breath away. You have journeyed far, not in miles, but in perception. Through the thickets of striving, the deserts of doubt, the long corridors of forgetting. You have tasted the hollow sweetness of success, divorced from self, and the quiet ache of having much, yet feeling little. And still, something in you would not rest. Something ancient, something holy. It stirred beneath the surface, whispering of a different kind of wealth. A wealth not bought, not sold, not flaunted, but felt. And now, you are beginning to feel it. The spaciousness of a heart no longer clenched. The softness of a mind no longer racing. The radiance of a being no longer at war with itself. This is wealth. Not the kind that builds empires, but the kind that builds eternity. Not the kind that perishes, but the kind that reveals what never could. Look within you. The evidence is there. The stillness you once feared now feels like home. The breath you once ignored now feels like prayer. The moment you once tried to escape now feels like presence. You are awakening to the gold within the treasure that was buried not in distant lands, but beneath your very awareness. And with every breath you unearth it. You remember. You remember that the soul does not hustle, it does not chase, it does not compare or compete. It simply shines. It knows its source. It trusts the tides. It walks in grace even when the path is not clear. Let this be your walk now, not as one seeking approval, but as one offering presence. Not as one trying to achieve significance, but as one realizing their sacredness was never in question. Let your life be a poem, not a pitch. A prayer, not a performance. A river, not a race. And let your wealth be measured not in things, but in how deeply you feel, how freely you love, how softly you listen to the quiet wisdom within. This world will tell you otherwise. It will tempt you with noise. It will try to sell you back to yourself in 1,000 forms. But you will know better. Because you have touched the truth, and once touched, it cannot be untasted. That truth says, you are already whole. You are already held. You are already home. So let go of the grasping. Let go of the proving. Let go of the image that begged to be polished. Let all things false fall away. And in their place, let your soul stand bare and luminous, unapologetic, untamed, unedited, because that is what this world needs. Not more perfection, but more presence. Not more accumulation, but more aliveness. Not more noise, but more light. You are that light. You always have been. You do not need to become wealthy. You need to remember that you already are. The fields of sufficiency are vast and open. Walk in them now. Not as a stranger, not as a seeker, but as the one who has come home to themselves. Let every breath affirm it. Let every step embody it. Let your silence echo it. And let your life whisper to all who meet you without a single word. Wealth is a state of mind, and you, beloved, are rich beyond measure.